Welcome to Rainbow Soul Podcast, where our Soulstrology comes forward to help you manage your everyday life, with forecasts and deep dives on natal charts and queer perspectives on the planets, transits, and more. A group discussion about upcoming transits with tips on how to read these transits in your own chart. Hollis offers years of wisdom and natal chart knowledge with Bright Hawk's positive perspective and Lacrosse's inquiry. We offer the complete queer astrology experience. Welcome to Rainbow Soul. Please help us by subscribing, sharing, and commenting and reviewing. You can also learn where else Rainbow Soul is offered on our website at rainbowsoul.show.
Welcome to Rainbow Soul Soulstrology. I'm Hollis Taylor, and I am one of your astrologers this week, and you can find out about me on my website, Divine Androgen, at divineandrogen.com. The link is in the description.
Hi there, I'm Bright Hawk. Pleasure to be with you here at Rainbow Soul Astrology. I'm a musician, a storyteller, an astrologer. You can find out more about me at brighthawkproductions.com. I'm the author of the award-winning book, The Dancing Hippo. I don't currently have a copy in front of me, but it's a gender-neutral book. It's really fun. It takes place in Africa, and it's a story about resilience. Yeah, so happy to introduce.
Hi, I'm Lacrosse Ortiz. This way. Lacrosse Ortiz, jack of all trades, master of none, professional student. You can find my book, A Fool's Journey, color journal, on Amazon. And you can also find me on TikTok, Instagram, and Facebook.
Cool. Awesome. All right. Well,
We've made it through eclipse season. Congratulations. I know it was really intense for some folks, depending on what your sign was, but we can take a collective.
maybe.
Because one thing you can count on, each moment is followed by another one. So this week is quite a week.
We have a big couple of weeks in front of us.
Yeah.
So, all right. But
before that,
let's take a moment to do a little meditation and get ourselves grounded and centered. I invite you to take a few deep breaths, to blow out any stress you might still be carrying. And in the meantime, I want you to imagine the night starry sky. And as you are part of this night starring sky, I want you to imagine yourself sort of floating in the night starry sky. Imagining your entire body just being free in gravity and floating through space. And you realize that you are staring at planet Earth. And as we stare at planet Earth and sort of float on the outskirts like a satellite, we begin to have a view of all the countries, of all the oceans, of all the places. You recognize them because, you kind of know your geography. And you notice the places that you recognize. You notice little islands and stuff, maybe that you don't. And I invite you to just let go of all the labels that we put on all of these places and these borders, these oceans. And just allow them to just fade and just instead take in the beauty of planet Earth all on her own. And how magical she is. How the oceans are fully pushing the weather and the winds around the Earth. And how the Earth's turn seems to keep everything in line. And how gravity keeps all of the humans and the animals and everything else still down there on Earth. The magic of the atmosphere of planet Earth. And the magic of the planet as a whole. And I invite you to recognize that you are just one person in a timeline that has been here for a very long time. Longer than we know, really. And we don't know how long it will go. And all those people you love, and all those people you feel connected to, and all those very important things in your life, recognize how small they are compared to the rest of the planet Earth. And as you take in the planet Earth, I also hope that you will recognize how we are all deeply connected, without borders, without colors, without anything that separates us, including oceans, and that all of us are deeply connected to this planet, planet Earth. And how it is deeply important for each one of us to gain harmony within ourselves so that we can gain harmony with others, so that we can all gain harmony with this planet. And I hope you will take your energetic magic to see planet Earth functioning in a harmonious way. And just see it done. All of us and our differences and all our different colors and different ways, that we will find a way to be harmonious on planet Earth, to treat the planet with respect and to treat each other with respect. Take this moment to come back into your body, floating up in space. as you prepare to go back down like a rocket through the atmosphere, landing back in this little world of yours, in this little space, in the spot that you are sitting, in the spot you are being, surrounded again by people you love. Just take a moment to come back into your body and know that we are all working towards a harmonious planet. Come back and wiggle your toes, stretch your fingers, and become present in your body, in the here and now. Including my dog Charlie. He's currently adjusting himself. He followed instructions really well, right?
He did. When you said stretch, he stretched.
Good boy. Yay! Good job, Bright Hawk. Oh my gosh, if you're wondering where we are in our van. We are in southern Colorado, near Monte Vista and Alamosa at
Alamosa.
very close to Great Sand Dunes National Park.
Yeah, we've been there a couple times now. It's been really cool. It's really neat. It's the highest sand dune in North America. Some of it is some crazy.
But we're not in the desert.
Yeah,
It's actually on the edge of the mountains.
it's called the San Luis Valley.
And
It's
so
where Crestone, right?
well,
No.
Crestone's a while up.
Yeah, but
it's
it's in the
actually-
same valley as Crestone, Colorado.
But anyway, and so it is just essentially the sand that comes off the mountains has completely built up to these huge sand dunes. Sometimes people go there and do sandboarding and stuff. I will say that neither of us were brave enough to do that.
It's really windy. They should call it Great Winds.
Super windy.
It's national
There's a cool
Sand-
little
sand dune.
river going along which was kind of fun.
That was cool.
And so that's where we've been. We're actually down here to visit nursing homes. Okay. And so that's why we're down here with our nonprofit called Let's Dance, letsdanceactivities.org. We visit nursing homes all over the state of Colorado.
Yeah, we've seen the vets and several communities, and it's going really well.
Yeah.
And then next we'll see special needs communities in Colorado Springs. But
Yeah.
first we go south to La Jara.
So we're staying in our camper van that we lived in for 5 years. So we're pretty familiar with it, and we also have our dog. But we lived in this for like 4 or 5 years or something like that. So
In the before times, before the pandemic. That's how we know we can get along really, really well. We've lived in a really small space for a really long time, and we totally love each other.
that's okay. Yeah. You get used to rubbing butts and things like that together, because the living room and the kitchen and the
It's all very compact.
dining area are all in the same spot. So it's like 3 steps away. Yeah.
So
So,
let's talk astrology,
oh my goodness.
right?
I'm just going to say, oh my goodness.
a few times.
Yeah. It took me a little while to get this prepared. And I was a little like, why is this taking me so long? And you know what? I don't really know. Except that I needed to take my time Uh-oh, it's pausing my screen share. Why does it do this? Okay. I don't know. All right.
Good.
Paused it again. Okay.
Oh,
See it?
yeah.
Okay, so we'll just have to keep going back and forth for some reason when it does that. Okay. So this is for May 22nd through the 28th. And I just want to say that the kite that I talked about last week will still be here, okay? But what has begun to happen, and one of the reasons I wasn't picking up some of the strongest aspects, so I'll apologize for last week. I did not pick up one of the strongest aspects happening because for some reason Pluto, Mercury retrograde probably, Pluto got unchecked as what's aspecting Pluto, and so I didn't recognize that Pluto was directly across the sky from Mars. And so you can see that red line now. It goes directly across and they're in opposition, which probably last week you've probably started to experience some discourse with people that you're in a one-on-one with, or people you're in relationship with, but also leadership qualities, things that might have to do with death or change, including war, including like things that can be pretty challenging, like tempers, and especially with Mars and Leo, because Mars and Leo is Mars rules Scorpio. Leo is normally way more noble than Mars tends to. Mars tends to be more about just war and can sometimes be the part that starts fights and things like that. Also, it can start discourse like in your health, or it can kind of like turn things upside down and stuff like that. So if you've been experiencing some health things, that may also be going on. And then as it moves into Leo, it's going to kind of, you should, if you have any kind of heart conditions or anything like that, I'm just going to let you know, go to the doctor, be careful, follow your doctor's orders, take your medication, do the thing you're supposed to do. Okay? While Mars is in Leo in particular, because Leo rules the heart. Okay? And Mars tends to be fast and wham type of energy, and so so you just want to be careful with that. And with it in opposition to Pluto, if there are people struggling in that way, you might just want to be careful. Don't walk around in fear or whatever. Try not to, but be careful, take care of yourself, take your medication, do the right thing. Okay. And the thing is that there's a grand cross that has formed. So Jupiter is up there in Taurus, and it's also in opposition to the South Node in Scorpio. So right away I start to think about, where did you come from? And where spiritually are you headed that is pulling you forward? Maybe you're attached to some luxuries. Maybe this has something to do with like money or luxuries or the things that you want to do in life. And it's in opposition to the South Node in Scorpio. So that tells me, like, maybe I don't want to be poor anymore, right? So like that kind of attitude, right? And it could really a grand cross can compel you, can push you to make changes. It can kind of force you to make changes or push you in the right direction to make the choices that spirit wants you to make. So I know I personally have been pushed to make the decisions. I've recognized some things through the eclipse and now through this Grand Cross that maybe I should do this and maybe I should do that. Okay. And so if you're starting to notice those kinds of things, pay attention to them. And Neptune is also in opposition to Ceres. So you can see all those red lines that are kind of going through. They're challenging, and they usually have to do also with one-on-one relationships or relationships with particular things. So it could be like your relationship with your job, or your relationship with luxuries, your relationship with money, your relationship with your body, right? Okay, and so you have to it's spirit's asking you to take care of yourself. And with Neptune in opposition to Ceres, that could be your relationship with your mother. And since we just had Mother's Day, maybe something has come up for you. Maybe you need to speak your truth or whatever's going on there. Now the kite is still going. The kite is still going on. So, you know, like you still want to try to make the right changes, try to go to the right direction, try to listen to yourself and follow what you know is right. But you could run into some challenge with this Grand Cross going on.
Yeah, because it's all about those oppositions, and we're going to talk a lot about T-squares, and T-squares are oppositions with two squares, you know, a base, an opposition base, and then it's squaring both things, right? So in terms of the moon at the beginning of the week, it's a waxing crescent. We're working our way back towards a full moon. It's a moon in Cancer. So we know when the moon is in Cancer, it's come home. How do you feel when you come home? You feel comfortable. Moon in Cancer is, you know, needs are met, and home is very important. It's a void moon, so it's not as strong, and the moon is conjunct Venus. That's the big thing that I would point out, is the conjunct Venus, because the moon and Venus get along very well, of course. They're both very emotional and sensitive and instinctual, and then it's in a trine to Saturn, so that's a nice aspect. Trines are blessings, and so are sextiles, and so a sextile to Mercury is a good thing. Maybe you can have a wonderful conversation with somebody who's important to you, and it goes really well, and you both feel really charged up, and you know, Mercury, of course, is now moving direct and starting to come back to the place that it was in April. So Mercury is starting slowly but surely starting to pick up speed, and so that big T-square that it's all week. It was last week.
Well,
It's
Grand
gonna be
Cross
next
is
week.
like
Yeah.
4 T-squared.
Right.
So
So you could just keep doing geometry based on this. But the big T-square that most astrologers are talking about is Pluto opposite Mars. And then the top of the T is Jupiter in the North Node. But Mercury is also sitting right there. So depending on which aspect, it only has to be within 8 degrees of orb. And so, you know, you have those oppositions which are meant to initiate conversations across the sky, right? And the arbiter is the one at the top of the T, the facilitator, the one that can help you maybe see the way through. So sometimes confrontation it becomes more heated when it's head on, right? But then if you turn a little bit this way and you have a conversation with the top of the T, be it whatever it be, in this case, we're talking about Jupiter, in the T-square with Mars and Pluto. And that's where you go to for the energy to sort of move into the next thing.
yeah, I have to change the thing every time we
And you might
change
wanna
screens.
the
Yeah.
background.
Yeah.
noise
So
since we're
yep, done.
children.
So yeah. so then we can make the screen big. But this is Tuesday. And so you can see that square, those T-squares will continue. There's also a T-square between Jupiter and the south node pointing to Mars in Leo, which is also has Pallas Athena right next to it. So I'm going to ask you to look at your strategies and try to make better strategies to deal with things, especially learning how to deal with maybe certain personalities or how to deal with this or that. Like, you know, try to make a strategy, try to find a way in there. And the thing is that these T-squares and this Grand Cross is going to be going on for a while. So it's probably going to like kind of build up to it last week, and then it's going to start to unfold, and then, you know, it's probably going to be challenging. But I just want to say that, you know, try to find the ways that you've been pulled forward, try to find your best self to surf through it, and try to use some good strategies. I feel like if you start to engage good strategies, that will greatly increase. And you may also want to try like engaging your spiritual self, because what I noticed is that Pluto is actually sextiling Neptune, and Pluto can sometimes be spiritual, especially if you put it with Neptune, because Pluto's going to say, hey, you know, what are your power dynamics? Maybe you need to, you know, figure out how those are going to be, power dynamics are going to come on full screen. Like, you're going to see them, and they could really bug you. And then at the same time, also, Neptune is going to kind of wake up your third eye. Like, you may become aware of like the way people's maybe intentions around you and things like that. So listen to that. Take time to meditate, take time to be quiet, take time to you know, do whatever practice you have to do to awaken those abilities, because that's probably going to be something that could really help you. I know me personally, if I'm really struggling with personal dynamics, it's sometimes easier if I back up and then engage on a more psychic level, or at least take the time to try to tap in to the energies, and I say, what's really going on here? You know, because you're seeing one thing, but there's something sometimes underneath that is more energetic, or could even be related to your history, or something from the past, or even something from their past, and they're just projecting it onto you, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, and try to take care of yourself, because that will also work out. That will help you in this.
Yeah, I think that's a really important idea. I think that the square to Chiron is, you know, almost asking you to make sure you're checked in on that. There's some nice energy with the moon, you know, it's still conjunct Venus, so that's sweet. And sextile Uranus, Ceres, and Vesta, and trine Neptune. So yeah, I think
So
that's all really good energy. And
yeah, and the thing is that I noticed this week, I don't know if it just changed there. Probably not. Okay. So in order for me to change them, that's probably not changing for you, Lacrosse. Okay. Like when I change them, that's what I'm recognizing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Shoot.
So
Okay.
there we go. And so there you can see the Grand Cross is getting darker, right? You can see that those red cross in the middle. So it's going to get darker through the week, meaning it's going to get harder. It's going to get more aligned, and it's going to become more clear about the people some people in your life or even you saying, but I've always done it this way. We've always done it this way. This is how we've always done it. And that attitude is going to just, that is going to send you, it's going to like, because it's all fixed signs. So it's Taurus, it's Aquarius, it's Scorpio and Leo, which are all fixed signs. And so those 4 signs that I just listed, Taurus, Aquarius, Scorpio, and Leo, if you have a major aspect there, don't hold on to the way you've always done it, because that's going to really mess up things. It's going to make it worse. So the best thing you could do is try to find a new way forward, which is Saturn and Pisces. Saturn and Pisces is trying to rebuild a new way of doing things. And Saturn and Pisces is saying, yeah, you may have always done it that way, honey, but we're not doing it that way anymore. Okay? And Saturn is asking you to change. And with this Grand Cross, you're not going to have a choice. It will change one way or another. It's going to change.
Yeah, so better to just get in the river and not hang on to the rocks, because sooner you get into the flow, the less difficult it'll feel. Because it could be a challenge, definitely, with that fixed energy. It could be a real challenge.
Yeah, and it will build up. So what's this, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday?
Yeah.
So,
And on Wednesday, the moon moves into Leo. I have a Leo moon, so I'm very familiar with Leo moon. Leo moon is a natural leader, likes to make sure that everyone's taken care of, is creative. Challenge part of a Leo moon is arrogance, standoffishness. The best part of a Leo moon is the collaborator and the
nobility, right?
nobility, taking care of everyone. And,
that's what, when I always think of Leo, I always think of, well, all this hair, but I mean, outside of that, I also think about the nobility. So you think about like the Lion King with the lion on the edge, the lion on that rock, who's kind of the leader, the noble leader. But at the same time, if you know anything about leadership, you immediately know that if the leader clings on to the way they've always done things or the old ways, then it usually doesn't go well and things kind of get a little screwed up.
Yeah.
So if anyone has Leo or Leo placements, I'd say on this, this is Wednesday. So
yeah, so now the moon has left the conversation with Venus and now is starting the conversation with Mars, and then it's going to hit Pallas Athena and Lilith, and
it's opposite Pluto.
Right.
Okay.
Right, so it's influencing that same T-square we keep talking about. Mars opposite Pluto, squaring Jupiter. And so the nice thing again is that trine to Neptune. What are your dreams? How are you dreaming? How are you making your dreams come true? And a square to Mercury, because everything's moving.
And with the trine to Neptune, I'm just going to say it's a great day to do your readings. Just don't do it the way you've always done it. Like if you all of a sudden feel you should use the other deck, or don't use both of those things you used to use, or you should bring a new stone over near you, do that. Okay? Do that. Don't be glued to the way you've always done readings. Be open, but because the Neptune is trining the moon, so that's going to be a blessing for readings.
Good.
Yeah.
Good. Yeah, that's good.
All
right.
And so, shoot. It changed it, but I'm sure it didn't change it for y'all. So, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. There we go. And so for Thursday, we're still in that square, and that's what I noticed pretty much for the Grand Cross will continue. And of course, there's multiple squares between Leo and Taurus, which
For
are
sure.
both fixed signs. Leo is a little bit more about leadership and nobility, and Taurus is a little bit more about luxury and luxurious things and pleasure, and let's just enjoy ourselves. And
Yeah.
and Jupiter in Taurus, since it's squaring a lot of things, I would also say, you might feel a want or a desire for indulgence. Like, whatever that luxurious thing that you have is, I know what mine is. I like to go out to eat. You're going to want it again and again and again. And you know what? Maybe you just do it. I don't know, but you have to decide that. And so be careful of that. That's what I'm going to tell you. And, also be aware of what you grasp onto, like I said, what you grasp onto the way you've always done it. That's going to be the thing.
Yeah.
And that's going to go on for like a couple of weeks.
Yeah. And it just keeps showing up. That same message just keeps showing up over and over because, yeah, it's written in the stars. You can't make it up.
Because we got to change. And
Yeah.
that's really what the universe is asking us to do.
Just
Because,
keep saying it.
if we did all stay the way we are now,
How boring.
well, not only would it be boring, but there's a lot of things that need to change. And we all know that.
Yeah,
We would all
for sure.
agree on that. We would all be like, yeah, we need to get more harmony with Mother Nature.
Yeah.
We need to do something about our planet. We need to not be at war with each other. There's so many things that need to change.
Yeah.
And so the universe is trying to push the human race through an evolution, and we're trying to evolve. So be sure you take the time to evolve. That's one of my things, is like, I don't want to get left behind. I don't know if any of you ever have that feeling, but don't get left behind. Other people could be evolving around you very quickly. And so you need to also get on your evolution and change with the world, change with it. And with that, I think the strongest trine that's happening is Chiron with Lilith retrograde. But Lilith is retrograde in Leo. And so that means Lilith rules not only female sexuality. So if that comes up for you, you can pay attention to that or feminine sexuality, not just female, but feminine, like the feminine expression of sexuality, including sexual empowerment. Lilith pretty much rules sexual empowerment for women, and for feminine energy. So I would include trans women in that, where a trans woman finally owns her sexuality, which I know that trans women sometimes struggle with their sexuality. So I'm just saying, with it trining Chiron like that, Lilith also rules independence and independent strength. Okay. And especially female independence or feminine independence, right? So but it's retrograde in Leo. So it's kind of asking you, do you have to do everything alone? Could you try to cooperate with people and recognize, maybe, I know I personally tend to be fiercely independent. And so I tend to be like, I'll just do it myself. I don't need anybody. Right. Okay. And that got me through. It was my survival instinct that got me through. And maybe you can identify with that, where you feel like, well, that's what got me through all these years. Right. But now Spirit is asking you, the universe is asking you, are there some times that there are some people in a good, noble place that you could cooperate with? And I see that the moon is conjunct Lilith too.
Right.
So it's probably going to be a little bit of an emotional process where you're like, all these.
And it's squaring the nodes. So, the south node's your past, your north node's your future. And so it's just that same seesaw, that same, what's the fulcrum point? What's the balance point for you between those two energies in your chart? where are they talking and how are they getting along, and who's the third point arbiter for you. And in this case, that third point in the T square, it's crowded up there. That's where it's at.
Yeah.
Those are the ones you want to call on.
And I think there's a lot to be said about where we came from, and Chiron and the South Node, both, which Chiron's involved in a trine and the South Node's involved in the T squares and the Grand Cross. So it's literally asking us to look backwards and say, what can I overcome? And so with Lilith and Leo, that's your answer. And that's what I'm telling you, is that's your answer to that. Like,
Yeah.
Instead of holding on to the way it was always,
Right.
go independent, be
Yeah.
independent, and maybe team up with people that you do feel are noble and aligned. So that might mean that some people, you recognize that they have some cuckoo ways. Maybe they're controlling, maybe they're power hungry, maybe they're taking advantage of you or manipulating you. And so then you turn around and you instead team up or pair or lead in a way that is more noble and more independent because of that Lilith. Yeah, she's gonna try to push you that way for sure. And then let's see here. So now this is, I think
Thursday.
we're on Thursday, Friday. I think we're on Friday now. And with Friday, I see, you have a little bit of, we still have the same Grand Cross,
right?
But at the same time, we also have Neptune across from Ceres. Okay. And so it's again about nurturing yourself. And that could, there could be some things getting in the way of that. There could be people or other things getting in the way of you taking care of yourself. So what are those things?
Sure. And the moon is in Leo still. It'll be a void moon at this point. So again, it'll be less strong. It's still waxing, etc. But it's in a trine now to Jupiter instead of a square, which is great. And it's also in a trine to Chiron. So those are both blessed energies, blessed up energies, and make things flow. I would imagine this would also make for a good reading day for that trine to Chiron.
Maybe it could help with healing. Or if you're a healer of any kind, or you do any kind of Reiki healing, or you are a coach, a mental health coach or something like that, this is going to be a good day with that to help people overcome emotional stuff. Or if you're working on your own crap and you're trying to deal with some old stuff and you've been working really hard on it, this is going to be a good day for you. It'll be easier for you to sort of find your way through things maybe than for others. Okay.
Great.
Especially with Chiron. And it will still be trining Lilith on that day as well. And for Saturday, yeah, we have, the trines. The squares are going to start loosening up. All of the squares between Taurus and Leo, they're going to start loosening up a little bit. So what does that mean? That means the orb's going to be getting a little further away. So you might notice a release of some stresses. Like some stresses might actually get resolved by the weekend, which could be great, or it could feel a little bit better at least. And you could have found a way through or found a good strategy, hopefully. Unless you're still trying to do it the way you always done it, because then you probably didn't.
And the moon is going to move into Virgo, practical Virgo, nurturing Virgo, problem solver Virgo. And it'll be in the first quarter now, the crescent moon. And is that right? First quarter? No, half moon. The T square you can see that the moon is opposite Saturn right there. And so that forms the base, and then it's actually the top of the square is the sun. See the sun at the top there?
Yeah.
So on a nice note, moon's trining Jupiter again, still, and still trining Mercury. So, they're both at the top there, and that'll make things flow in a good way.
Hopefully you
So
can at least talk
that
about it.
conversation, the moon opposite Saturn, what are you doing? Get practical. Have you got a schedule? What's your infrastructure? Do you have what you need? And if it gets really challenging between the moon and Saturn emotionally, turn to the sun. What are you thinking about? The sun is in Gemini. So we think about how we're going to create a better structure and emotionally support ourselves in a good way.
That T-square with the moon in opposition to Saturn just tells me that emotionally the system might not be working for you. Or you need to rebuild a system of some sort, and it's gonna probably drive you a little crazy. And with the sun in Gemini, it might feel like some people have you might just want to be aware of two-faced people. Literally.
Yeah, could be challenging.
Literally. Yeah. So just be careful. I always say be careful who you trust. Sometimes some of us could use some lessons from the other people that trust too much. So there's some people that trust too much, and then there's some of us that don't trust at all. And it's somewhere in the middle. I try to allow people to earn trust. And if they earn it, I'll give it to them. But they earn it one step at a time, one building block at a time. And if you don't earn it, then I can't help you. And if you break my trust, then I want to try to always remember how you broke my trust. And don't ignore that. Don't let those red flags go away. Don't pretend the red flag is a green flag. Or a white flag. Just see it and be like, okay, well, they've been trustworthy 3 times and not trustworthy 1 time. Okay. So now they're not completely trustworthy. They are kind of sort of trustworthy. Maybe they're trustworthy with some things. And if a person, to me, has not been trustworthy, three strikes and you're out. And that's it for me, man. I'm like, okay, 3 strikes, you're out. Goodbye. And I won't necessarily tell them. I'll just be like, we're done. And I'll just stop interacting with the person because I don't want to get into an argument or a conflict about it because there is no debating it. I no longer trust you because you have now broken my trust 3 times. And so once that happens, usually after 2 times, I'll start to back up. And then by the 3rd time, I'm probably not going to do much with you at all. But I learned that the hard way. I definitely had I had a partner that I trusted a couple thousand times. So don't do that. Don't do that to yourself. You deserve better. You deserve to be treated well. And so I'm just saying, pay attention to who you're trusting there and pay attention to who deserves your trust and let people earn your trust. Don't just give it away. Your trust deserves to be earned. And if a person earns it, then fine. But if they don't, you're worthy. So that would be my offer on that one. With the sun in Gemini, the problem is that it doesn't show them that I'm changing it. With the sun in Gemini, it just tells me someone is probably going to be a two-faced type of situation. And now things are going to start to loosen up.
Yeah, you see, when you start to see more blue than red on the chart, blue is the color of trines and red is the color of oppositions and squares. You start to go, oh, good. Because there's that flowy energy we like to talk about. But sometimes sometimes too many trines and you take everything for granted. But after all these T-squares, and of course the T-squares that we've been talking about long term, still sitting there because things move very slowly for Pluto. You have Mars sitting at 4 degrees, and that lines up to the North Node and 3 degrees. Yeah, so still sitting there. The moon is now still waxing in Virgo, and we have a rectangle. So you're going to have to help us understand a mystic rectangle. But basically, once again, you have two oppositions: the moon opposite Neptune, and then the other side of the box is Pluto opposite Venus.
Right.
So that creates another rectangle.
And Pluto's still in opposition to Mars. It's a light red line.
Pluto is still in opposition to Mars. Yes, it is. Yeah, I talked about that in the first part.
Okay.
So you have a trine, some trines. Thankfully, we have trines to Mercury. We have moon trine Uranus, moon trine Vesta, and a sextile to Venus. So that's where we start to feel like things are loosening up. It's again the weekend. It's interesting that the middle of the week has had this cycle of being the most intense part, and then we start to feel a little relief by Saturday, Sunday. So we kind of get that again.
Yeah, there might be some relief on the weekend, mostly probably because you'll be able to talk about whatever went on. Whether you're just venting it or you'll be able to
understand it.
You'll be able to have a good conversation with your two-faced person or or whatever needs to happen. Sometimes that can feel better. Sometimes you can have a conversation and come into a better understanding with someone.
For sure.
So that could totally happen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's
and the mystic rectangle essentially is things on those four corners, which has to do with psychic abilities and action and taking care of yourself, and the moon and Pluto. So that's change. So if you find yourself changing the way you do psychic things, the mystic rectangle is like kind of telling you to do that. And that will become more important next week, I noticed.
Right.
Okay.
All right. So hopefully that helps. Helps guide the week. You want to ask or add anything? Lacrosse?
Yeah, I was noticing how it was saying about the force of change. Like this past weekend, I ended up going to the mountains with my wife, and since we're in the season of the deer, I was excited and hoping I would see a deer. I didn't, but I did see a raven. But anyway, which made me decide to really, really look into the deer. And with everything that's happening with transgender people such as myself, with the children and everything that's happening, it's time for people to start changing their mindset on what they think transgender is. And believe it or not, in the deer kind of gave me a confirmation. Only the males have antlers.
Right.
1 in 65 females grow antlers. That even in nature itself, the fact of transitioning for whatever reason, it is there, it is science, and it's going to, I always want to quote like Jurassic Park, Jeff Goldblum, life will find a way. And I just found it really interesting that out of all, normally you hear about it with amphibians, but you don't hear about it with actual mammals. And the fact that this one will stand out, it will grow horns, it will take that lead, it just, to me, it confirms something great. And it just goes to show, I think people need to stop looking at it as how they do in this typical stereotypical way. So it's got to change. It's got to change. So
I've heard that with lions too, that there will be a female who will take on.
She grows a mane too.
She grows a mane. She's on the pride, does what needs to get done, and I love it.
Yeah,
we'll find a way.
It's an interesting thing. I was laughing because, my grandchildren really love chickens, and they have a bunch of chickens in their house. Well, not in their house,
Right,
but in
right.
their yard. In their yard. And, you know, it's Mother's Day, and they're showing me all their chickens, which was very cute and funny. But my granddaughter, who's trying to understand gay, she says about this one rooster, well, he doesn't want to mate. He's not a good mate. And he doesn't want, and I was like, oh. And then she said, he doesn't want babies. And I said, maybe he's gay. She was
Eh?
she, real big. She's like, no. I'm like, okay. But, you know, like, I'm just trying to, you know, I do know that there are some times that animals show gay, what would be seen as gay traits, you know,
Sure.
females so-called mating with each other, having sex.
Yeah.
And we don't really know why that happens. And then of course there are intersex animals. There are intersex humans, and we don't
Yeah.
know why. We just try to correct them as if there is something wrong with them. I personally think that's humanity's like first step, honestly, to understanding transgender, like from a science perspective. I think one of the first steps is to, well, let's stop mutilating intersex people as if something is wrong with them, because I really honestly believe that there is not. I think they're supposed to be that way.
Absolutely.
Human being is here to teach us all. Everyone has a gift, everyone has a purpose, everyone has a reason for existing. And
Yep.
to look at it any other way, to me, feels like it's a loss for everyone. It's like trying to cut a color out of the rainbow. How stupid.
You know,
Why would you do that?
I will say that just the other day we were at the park, and there were some Christians, and they had, you know, Jesus is Lord or something like that written on their van. And I so wanted to, if I had a piece of that, like, you know, chalk stuff that you could write on, like the crayon that you can write on somebody's car with, I would have put transgender is sacred.
Yeah.
That's what I wanted to write. I so want to write that sometimes, just as much as they write Jesus is Lord and everything else. I just feel like, yeah, and so is being transgender. Being transgender is a divine path, and so is being intersex, and so is being a woman. All of them are special in their own way, and all paths are valid. And I just it was my funny little joke.
Yeah. Yeah.
I wanted to, while they were out on the dunes, I wanted to just come up and write
Yeah.
transgender sacred on their windshield.
It's sad because you, like, especially here in Pennsylvania, it's so predominantly Christian oriented, and it just goes to a whole different level that it doesn't even need to go. You know, with these people, I'm like, I don't understand it. I don't get it.
Yeah.
It is what it is. But, you know, I think eventually it's gonna, even they're not gonna be able to fight it anymore, because this is just a natural part of evolution. And I'll say it till the day I die. Don't get upset because I'm the next evolved human being. Don't get upset. Okay, it is what it is. And you can accept it, you can embrace it, and maybe you can even learn something from it, because
Right.
then you would realize the sacredness of us being able to bridge that gap between two genders or three genders or four or what, how many genders there are. We will bridge that gap, because that is
Right.
what we're called to do. So,
Right.
but
Or mix it up
Yeah.
and just bring
yeah,
them both forward, or show that
yeah,
gender is just unnecessary.
yeah, yeah.
So, whatever it's got to be. And I just, yeah, I'm right there with you. And
Our message is at Rainbow Soul, you matter. And we want to hear from you. We hope that this program helps you, that we're a safe space that inspires you. And hopefully this week is a good week for you.
yeah, and hopefully you can figure out what you're supposed to change, what you're supposed to adjust, and just try to grasp a hold of that. Try to grasp a hold of whatever it is you need to change. Try not to dig your heels in. That'd
Yeah.
be the trick. That'd be the
Yeah.
hardest part. I know, even I love change, but sometimes I still dig my heels in, and then I'm like, why am I doing that? That's dumb. So just embrace change.
Yeah, exactly. Don't be scared of it.
That's
Right.
it.
Right.
All right. We wish you all the best. Have a great week.
All right.
Make
Bye-bye.
sure to like, share, and subscribe.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. Oh my gosh.
All right. Have a good week.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you for listening to this week's Soulstrology and subscribing, liking, sharing, and reviewing. We hope you enjoy this dose of Soulstrology and encourage you to embrace the week ahead with an open mind and heart so that you may integrate the deepest of lessons from the stars. Take a moment to step outside and honor the planets, stars, and moon in the sky with your heart. Integrate the messages that resonate and leave the rest for someone else. We deeply appreciate each and every one of you. Always remember that you are a perfectly unique human with an exclusive star map of your destiny, your soul purpose, and your heart's desire. Thank you again for tuning in to Rainbow Soul.